What's going on, my exotic family? It's your boy Dre. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're going to be covering one of the most controversial topics in the reptile community. We're going to be talking what's better, live or frozen. We're going to break down each and see which is better for your snake. Stay tuned. Alright everybody, so welcome back to the video. So like I said, we're going to be talking about feeding live and frozen. Basically, which one is better? That seems to be a huge debate in the reptile community, and a very old debate at that. So I'm making this video really just to give my own opinion, my view on what I think. I'm not here to sway anybody, or I'm not here to bash people for doing things a certain way. This is strictly my opinion. I say that in a lot of my videos, so I don't want anybody to feel any type of way of anything that I say in this video. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it, and we'll start off with the pros of feeding live. One of the pros of feeding live is gonna be it has more nutrients. You would think having, freezing your rats or everything like that would have, the same amount of nutrients, but actually, obviously, since the rat is live, their heart's beating, everything is there, the rat is already warm, it's fresh. It's just like, if you go anywhere and just the food is fresher, it's a lot fresher for them, it has more nutrients. So that's the first pro. The second pro is going to be that their movement, their smell is going to induce the snake to have a more food driven response, especially if you have a picky eater, or if you're just trying to get a snake to eat for the first time. It definitely does help. Now I will say, a few of my snakes that I have gotten, I had to give them live to actually get their feeding confidence up, to get them used to feeding. So it does help. Now permanently, that is kind of where I'm not gonna say I'm against live feeding. I just feel like it's not something that's always necessary. It's not something that should always have to be permanent, but there are situations where it is for some people. So now we're gonna jump right into the cons of feeding live. One con of feeding live is it's a hassle, especially if you have multiple snakes and you have to go pick up, let's say you have 10 snakes, you have to go pick up 10 rats alive, put them in a box in your car, and which at that point you risk the chance of them chewing through the box. Now we all know if you secure the box good enough, you usually won't have any issues, but I feel like everyone knows that person who has had a rat or a mouse get loose in their car or house, whatever the case may be. So that's definitely one thing you want to think about, especially if you're feeding large snakes. They're gonna want larger meals, and at that size, those rats are usually not friendly. I mean, if I was, if I had to choose between being picked up by my tail and being thrown in a 6-7 foot snake cage, I'm probably gonna bite you as well. So it's completely understandable, and it's natural behavior. So if you have kids, or if you have people that do not like snakes or rodents, a loose rodent in the house is definitely the last thing you want. They're worse than a loose snake, because snakes will get loose and hide, but rats will actually do damage. They'll chew through things, and they just leave droppings everywhere, and it's just not what you want. So con number 2 for feeding live is gonna be they are pretty pricey, especially if you're getting from a pet store. At least where I live, even small rats right now are like $4 or $5, and that's only for the stores that actually will sell them. A lot of our stores will no longer sell live food because they are pushing more towards feeding frozen. A lot of places will not sell live, and like I said, it's more expensive. I have a local breeder, and I go to him directly, and it's just way cheaper for me, and I buy frozen, but we'll get to that. Another con, kind of going back to the rat thing, is the safety of your animals. Like I said, these rats are not just gonna go down easy. And then one thing you should never do is toss a live rat in your snake's enclosure and walk away. That is probably the worst thing you can do. Yes, the snake may strike and bite it and coil up. However, we all know and all have that situation where while the snake has coiled and struck at the rat, sometimes they don't get the head of the rat all the time. And although he's killing the rat is leaving a pretty nasty bite on the snake, in which in the long run for the snake is going to be more of an issue for the snake than it is for the rat. Yes, the rat's dead and he's being eaten. However, it's a long-term problem the snake is going to have to deal with, which is then going to cost you money because you have to take your snake to the vet. Another con of feeding live rodents is they are more prone to carrying, parasites and diseases. Regardless of who you go to for your rats, their collection had to start somewhere, and you can never know where exactly these rats have been. So it is very, very important that you are very careful when selecting your rats. But like I said, with live rats, it's more prone that they'll have these diseases, especially if you're getting them from a pet store. Just the way that they're kept in general, they're kept with other rats. They're usually in their own feces because rats poop like crazy, and it causes a lot more issues for the rats. And then you're feeding that to your snake, and whatever the rat has, the snake is ingesting. And as a reptile keeper, that is definitely something that you want to keep in mind when giving things to your snake, because you obviously care about them. So what goes into your reptile, and I keep saying snake, I mean there's other reptiles out there that'll eat these mice and rats. I mean, there's certain frogs, crocodilians, big lizards, tegus, monitors, whatever the case may be. All of these animals are gonna eat these rodents. So it is very important that you think about these things before deciding how you are going to feed the animal. One thing that I do when I'm getting a new animal, I'll speak with the breeder and ask them what their feeding schedule is and what they're eating. That definitely helps. A lot of breeders now will actually already have their babies on frozen free, or everything like that. So that definitely is a plus. Now, like I said, I'm not saying feeding live is horrible. It's not the worst thing ever. It is a natural part of reptile keeping, unfortunately for some people. However, a lot of people don't even try to wean their snakes onto frozen because they feel like it's better to see the snake kill it. And to be honest, if we're raising these snakes in captivity, there's really no need for that. They don't have to hunt. They know they have a constant supply of food. So there's really no point of risking your snake's life and safety because it's for your own enjoyment. It's kind of, to be honest, stupid in my opinion. But hey, like I said, this is just my opinion. All 13 of my snakes eat. For every reptile I have that eats mice or rats, everybody eats frozen. I haven't had to buy a live food in other than crickets. I haven't had to buy live rodents in over a year, so something to keep in mind. So now we'll move over to frozen. What are the pros of feeding frozen? I feel like there's so many, basically the opposite of everything I just said about live. So the way you store them is way easier. Obviously they're frozen, so you can keep them in a freezer, but you can buy more versus live. If you buy 10 rats, you have to feed all of those rats off immediately unless you're prepared to keep those rats alive. So you would then have to have a setup for them, but also feed them at the same time. And I know a lot of people who have snakes and then they breed their own rats, which that's perfectly fine. They're prepared and they're ready for it. But for someone like me that does not want to breed rats, and I don't have the room for it even if I did want to, it's just way easier for me to do frozen. So I can buy 50, 60, 100 whatever rats and keep them in a freezer and just go get what I need. And then the plus side to that even more is the fact that I have 4 or 5 months supply in the freezer. I don't have to go to my supplier every single week or every whatever. I can just be cool on my supply for months. So another pro obviously is going to be it's healthier for the snake in the long run because you don't have to worry about the snake being attacked. Now, freezing rodents, yes, it does lose some nutritional value because it's not alive, it's not as fresh, and you do have to warm it up. However, like I said, in the long run, it's a lot fresher. And I've done a video actually on how I prepare my frozen, so actually check that out. I'll make sure I drop a card up here so you guys can check that video out on how I prepare my frozen food. Another pro to feeding frozen is it's generally cheaper. Like I said, I buy all of mine in bulk, and it's from what my breeder tells me, it's just a lot easier to round up the frozen ones versus the live ones. So I love it. I have 13 snakes of all different sizes, so I buy mice, but those are usually for, you know, the caiman, and those are the small ones. But most of my snakes are on some form of rat, but I'm buying mice and multiple sizes of rats, and I can literally buy and bring home maybe well over 400 around there, and I'm not paying a lot of money versus if I go to the pet store and buy just 10 rats, I'm probably paying more than what I am buying frozen. But that depends on where you're getting your rats as well. So now let's jump over to cons of feeding frozen. For me, I feel like the only con of feeding frozen is going to be time consuming. You can't just open the box and pull them out and they're ready to feed. You have to actually go in the freezer, put them in a bucket or whatever, and let them thaw. And that usually takes a little bit of time. However, that is something that I'm prepared to do. So like I said, you get a new reptile and you're bringing it home, you definitely need to weigh your options. Do I feel like frozen is the better option? Yes, I do, because it's safer for your animal, and I feel like that's the underlying message of this video. Your animal safety is first, and also it's not inhumane. It's sad, I guess, for some people. However, it's natural. These snakes have to eat. There's no salad, there's no pre-made food that these snakes will survive on. And I know some people, I've seen out there in videos where some people feed their snakes like the little sausage links that are made up of, you know, rodent parts and everything like that. That's fine, that's cool, that works for them. That's not for me. So I really feel like it's just a better option. It keeps your snakes healthy. Obviously the snakes grow at a very rapid rate, but like I said, you don't have to worry about, you know, when you put the rodent in there and then you have to go, you step away for a minute, you don't have to sit there and keep an eye on it to make sure it's not kicking or biting your snake or anything like that. Because I've been there with my blood python when he was when I first got him, maybe 6 months in, and I couldn't get him to eat frozen to save his life, so I actually had to feed him live. And what I would have to do is after I would so I think people, when they feed live, they mess up on how they feed it. They want to dangle it by the tail, and then the snake is supposed to strike somewhere, and then that gives the rat an opportunity to you know, bite the snake back. So me personally, I take my tongs and I would grab the rat by the, you know, the shoulder blades, and I would actually shove the face in the blood python's shove the rat face in the blood python's face so he bites the face directly. But even then, it took a lot to do that. And then I don't know about you guys, but I do not like hearing rats squeal. It makes my skin crawl. So that is probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm glad my snakes eat frozen. So that is how I view that topic, guys. Like I said, this video is not to bash anybody. I actually have a couple breeder friends that prefer to feed live because it's a lot quicker for them and they have success with it, and it works for them, and that is great. So like I said, I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm not here to say people that are feeding live are wrong. I'm just simply here shedding light from my point of view, and telling you guys what worked for me, but also, once again, do your research to see what works for you. A lot of people also have snakes that no matter what you do, they will not eat frozen and they're stuck in their ways. So the good thing about live is it's always going to be around, because you're always going to have those snakes that probably just will never eat frozen, especially when dealing with wild caught snakes. That's probably the biggest reason why I feel like live feeding will never go away. As long as importing is, you know, legal on certain species, a lot of snakes probably will never eat frozen because they're used to live animals. So that is it. That is all. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Like I said, it's a controversial topic to some people. I'm just getting on here, just letting you guys know how I feel. So let me know how you guys feel about it in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I just posted my 100th video last week, so I'm very excited about that. And guys, I am almost monetized, so make sure you guys are watching these videos. I really appreciate it. And hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss any updates. As always, stay exotic.